Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the January 25th, 2016 meeting of the Weare Board of Selectmen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We started our meeting at 6:30 with some non-public sessions. One, to hire a new employee at the police department, which Chief Sean Kelly will be introducing to everyone momentarily, and then some additional personnel issues. So at this time, I'd ask everybody to join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. The floor is open for public comment. Any public comment? Okay. Department head committee items. I'll recognize Chief Sean Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two items of business today. Do you have a preference of which we go with first?
We can do hire first.
Okay. I've said this in a slightly different light in the past because we were bringing police officers in front of you, but the selection of personnel to the Weare Police Department is probably the single most important thing that I do for the future of the agency. And I don't think there's too many people that would argue with me that over the last several months, very frankly, the Weare Police Department has not been at its administrative best with regard to the tasks that are often associated with a non-sworn administrator to deal with the day-to-day movement, analysis, and storage of records and so forth. Our administrative secretary position has been vacant for months, and we have gone through an exhaustive process to identify the best available candidate that I'm very pleased to present to you today. Excuse me. This evening, Selectmen, I'm pleased to introduce Emily Dauphinus and recommend her for employment as the Administrative Secretary of the Weare Police Department.
Would you just let the public know a little bit about Emily's background so that we can hear about her? We have on the board, but
Sure.
for those watching and people here tonight.
Sure. Maybe a description of the selection process might be in order as well. We did what you would consider a fairly routine step of asking candidates to submit a Town of Weare employment application, a letter of interest, and a professional resume. We look at these documents in a slightly different light. The number of people that can't follow the simple instruction of submitting those three documents is startling. So that very thing, that attention to detail, is important to us. And then, of course, we look at the things you'd expect we would be looking for in an administrative secretary: the ability to read and write the English language, spelling, punctuation, grammar, and so forth. Once we had identified a core group of people that we wanted to interview, we forwarded that to an interview panel, which was made up of one police officer and four area professionals, administrative secretaries from the region, that were able to far better assess the quality of the candidates than I would be able to. And they came up with three candidates that they recommended that would be suitable for employment, but in this case, recommended Emily Dauphinus as the number one candidate. So Emily is from town. She lives here in Weare. She has been it made our background very easy. She's stayed with her former employers for long term, and in each instance, the former employers, recommended her unequivocally. As you can well imagine, her personal references also recommended her, but we've taken that a step further, and each one of the personal references was asked to give us a list of names that we could talk to, and we followed up on those. And again, we have found that this candidate meets or exceeds every expectation we could have for somebody in this position. Excuse me.
I'm in a meeting.
I'm not sure that I'm allowed to tell you where she used to work.
That's okay, you don't need to. That's
Okay.
fine.
Erring on the side of caution.
It's a good idea.
Just that she has worked in had this type of work in the past, and again, comes recommended by her former employers. The type of work that she did in the past also involved interesting work that could have people coming to her in that role with similar emotional responses that they might have when they come to a police department. And her former employers described her excellence in handling that type of situation. I'm not sure what else we on here.
Maybe just a little bit about the, well, I guess you covered it, the background, your process.
Sure. At the risk of sounding cheeky, we did a fairly extensive Google search. And we're very satisfied that this candidate is not on the radar, or at least in anything that is there is positive and would reflect well in the Weare Police Department if it was ever discovered.
Thank you. Entertain a motion at this time?
You have it written down?
I can do it if you want.
Go ahead.
I move to hire Emily Dawkins to start Tuesday, February 2nd, as a Weare Police Department Administrative Secretary at the rate of $18.25 an hour.
Second. Jennifer got it. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Welcome aboard.
Would you like to talk a little bit about, do you have anything else other than what we're here for our public hearing at 7:30? You said you had two things. I'm assuming the second one
What's
was,
the public hearing?
okay. Not 7:30 yet.
I'll
think-
deal before.
Yes, please. You think Maple will take long?
I don't know. I honestly don't know what's. It's 15 minutes, so I hate to get involved in the middle of something. Or Ricky's heard it because of the planning board.
So what do you think? You'll get
Probably
time?
more than 15.
Okay. Okay, I guess we'll do meeting minutes. The only thing I had on page one was the vote to go into non-public. I did not vote yes because I
You
hadn't yet arrived.
Came through the door after.
I didn't have anything on page 1 or page 2.
I had a question, Naomi, about, under public comment,
Mhm.
we were talking about Mr. Jones,
Mhm.
and there's a sentence that says, "The board responded, the hearing has been postponed at this point." You mean the swearing in?
Yes. I'm sorry. It's not the hearing. It's swearing in.
Then what's this John Martin? It doesn't say what repairs, grant for repairs.
Right. But that happened. So it was saying that it was postponed. It's not that, it was the swearing in. And what was that, Jennifer?
When John asked the board for the grant for repairs, it It doesn't say what kind of grant or what repairs.
For the tennis court.
Tennis
Oh.
court.
I don't think he had anything specific. Did he
Yeah,
just
the
say
tennis
grant?
court.
No, he said tennis court.
He
Yeah.
did, he said tennis court?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought you were asking where the grant was to, like, to,
Where it came from?
yeah.
Anybody else have anything on the first page, second page? My next page is 6, so does anybody have?
I have something on 3, several things. In the first paragraph, it's just clarification, really. The difference in payments on the 2015 long-term debt to this projected payment is approximately 6 cents. So I just changed the word from to on, and inserted 2015 long-term debt and crossed out 2016, because it meant to be a comparison between 15 and 17, not because the long-term debt payment in 16 is a different amount.
Do you want to clarify the 6 cents being 6 cents on the tax rate for a $200,000?
Tax impact.
Yeah, I don't know if they said that at the time because of previous discussion, but that's a good
I
idea.
think you did, though.
Okay. And then down in 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph, Vice Chairman Clow added that Director Redmond stated that he could put in a special kill switch in vehicles that would shut off, it was the electrical systems from the battery. So I crossed out fuel and put in electrical systems from the battery. And then at the end of that same paragraph, it does not include the paving and other outside work. That's the total cost, the $105 per square foot. That's it for that page.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on those pages? Well, we have 2.
4?
4.
Right above, the paragraph right above where the bold public hearing starts, we're talking about the space provided for vehicles in the garage. It says they use 15 feet, and I included in width per vehicle.
Sure.
And then I would suggest the last line on that page just be crossed out because it's confusing. And it's not in effect at the time. It's something that's in a proposed contract. Part-time officers are not eligible for health insurance, but due to the Affordable Care Act, an organization with over 50 employees, an employee who works 30 hours is eligible for either insurance or the buyout. The officers will work 28 hours, but that is difficult with 10-hour shifts. It's kind of irrelevant there because it's something that goes along with a restriction and a new contract that hasn't been passed.
And that's what's proposed as a contract?
Mm-hmm.
Strong feelings one way or the other. You can take it.
5. 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph up from the bottom. Just a clarification, Vice Chairman Clow replied that they hope to never have to see these things happen either night or during the day. We're talking about, whether things were happening at the wee hours of the morning and that it was just a safety net.
Yeah, I think your point was we hope to never have to have calls. for
Exactly,
service.
and so just wanted to clarify that, and then at the end, I thought there was some confusion about the 7 to 9 or 9 to 7 vehicles, so I reworded that. John Lawton asked about the 5 new cruisers and wanted to know about trade-ins. The plan is to go from 9 to 7 vehicles. It said here the plan is to trade in 7 of the 9 vehicles. that's a little different than what it meant. So, a little rephrasing. That's it.
Page 6. The vote, the part right in the middle, vote 3-2, motion failed. No vote by Selectman Hippler and Vice Chair Clow, yes by Chairman McCa- I think it's the other way around.
Yeah, it's that.
I
That's
almost voted yes.
It was 2-3 as well.
It was,
Shouldn't be 3-2. This 3 would be favor.
That's right, because the phrasing of the motion would make a,
I'm just gonna pull it off.
yes vote. Well, you're right.
2 paragraphs after that, that starts resident Lori Davis. The third sentence, she asked if anyone has spoken to the NRC. I'd like to replace that with National Rifle Association, NRA. And change the last sentence just to remove the words which Seabrook does and replace them with Chairman Lacasse stated that the town of Seabrook does. And then the
I
italics.
just have one thing in that same paragraph.
Okay.
Just it says by stewards of the town, and
Stewart.
just make it a small letter because unless we have a lot of people running around named Stewart, it's a small letter.
And the italicized sentence about the computer unplugging, just remove those, right? Anyone else? Anything on 6? 7?
Under Administrator Report, third little paragraph there, just a clarification, the Capital Reserve Fund balances were received.
Thank you. I had a question. What is
Move to approve as amended.
it? I have
Oh, I'm
one
sorry.
more on page 7. Vote. Vice Chair Clow moves that Selectman Hippler second to instruct the chairman to sign the tax map maintenance agreement. Is that what it was?
Mhm.
Okay. I just want to insert the words tax map. before maintenance
Actually,
agreement.
that tax map maintenance though there was 4 signatures for you guys.
So
it
what-
was-
What is this vote for then?
That was for the radio.
It was for the,
Okay.
radio maintenance.
So then we should say radio then.
Yep.
And this, the next sentence, the town was billed on 12/31/15 for the first quarter. Is that for the same?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the next one, contract with Spalding Hill Network for continuing computer IT services,
That was managed care.
managed care.
Yeah.
Computer managed care,
Yes. That's an annual contract.
right. And the last line of page 7, a firing range warrant article change will be, I'd like to take out change will be and replace it with a fire range warrant article will be changed to read and then open to where residents, replacing open to the public. Anyone have anything else?
Okay, now move to approve as amended.
Keith, I'll take.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
We could probably do manifests. You wanna do manifest, Keith?
I move we order the treasurer to sign the accounts payables and payroll checks dated January 28, 2016, as included in the following manifests. Payroll manifest of $54,246.74 for weekly and monthly payroll with deduction checks. Accounts payables manifest of $53,372.28. Supplemental accounts payable manifest of $6,052.81. a John Stark Regional Manifest of $250,000 for the January 21st, 2016 appropriation for a total manifest of $363,671.83.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I have 7:28 if you want to just,
Okay.
you could probably get started.
Yep. So at this time, we'll open a public hearing for the purpose of hearing public testimony and comment on a municipal prosecutor agreement between the town and Alexander G. Gadzoulis Esquire for the sum of $68,029.24. The agreement appoints a municipal prosecutor to represent the town in cases involving, without limitations, civil causes, violations, misdemeanors, and felonies within the jurisdiction of Goffstown District Court, unless the jurisdiction over a case is preempted by the Hillsborough County Attorney or Attorney General's Office. And if it would be okay, I'd like to recognize Chief Sean Kelly just to...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Briefly, as you can well imagine, the law enforcement role that a police department plays in a community is useless unless there's a successful prosecution behind it. Alex Gatsoulis has brought to us a breadth of experience that he's gained over his tenure in the legal field, including time with the Merrimack County Attorney's Office. I'm going to let him speak to you, or ask that he speak with you, if you'll permit him, to introduce the type of work that he does and put it in the context that he's best able to do.
I was going to ask him to do that.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Good.
So for those in the public who don't know, I am Alex Gadzoulis. I am the town prosecutor, and I've been the town's prosecutor since 2014. Just a bit of background. Chief Kelly rightly touched upon that I was previously in Merrimack County, an assistant Merrimack County attorney for 2 years, and before I was employed by the county attorney's office, I volunteered my time with the attorney general's office, and I've interned extensively with both private defense law firms as well as actually Hillsborough County Attorney's Office, where my interest in criminal law came to fruition. Regarding the scope of the work that I do here for the town of Weare, I think Chairman McCass, you rightly said that I do misdemeanors, violations, and probable cause hearings, which are a way of determining whether or not a case should be sent up to the county attorney's office and carry with them prison sentences as opposed to county sentences. But also what I would say is that I also prosecute juvenile cases in this town. I don't like to use the word prosecute. I oversee juvenile cases in this town, because when we get into the juvenile system, the goals of the juvenile system are much different than what we look to do in the criminal adult world. And so I'm not sure. I submitted earlier this afternoon a statement to Naomi Bolton. I don't know if you all have a copy of it.
I had
But
forwarded it to you.
Yeah.
It's on my phone.
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
Rick's reading it now.
Oh.
They were forwarded to us
It was later this afternoon, yeah.
but-
Sure. But in it, I talk about the role of the prosecutor, particularly in this town, just generally, but also particularly in this town. And what I see as, and I provide with you my viewpoint and my approach to prosecution. And the one thing that I really want to let the board know, as well as citizens know, is that I have a great fundamental belief that not all defendants are lost. Many of the people that I see are good people that have just had bad days. So in my approach to prosecution, how do I deal with them? Do I go straight for the wall and hammer them on every single count, or do I try to work with them to see what best fits the goals and their needs? And speaking with my officers and the lieutenants and Lieutenant Hebert, Chief Kelly, and even the citizens of the town, those that I have spoken with, it's been overwhelmingly, what can we do to help these people that come before me? Some of them, we have to go all the way, and I fully understand that. We have incarcerated people. But many times, I do have to take a look at the overall scope of who is before me, what their record is, how I approach it, and what we can do to best serve them. And just an example is, recently, I had a 24-year-old girl steal fentanyl from her neighbors. She needed help. She had a drug problem. So what do? Do I send her to jail? Do I send her up to the county attorneys for prosecution so that she can have prison time hanging over her head? Or do I send her to inpatient drug treatment? I sent her to inpatient drug treatment. Some people might disagree with that, but in my view, I'm helping square this girl away. So that's just an example of it, of what I do. Also, in my statement, what I would note is that I do deal with a lot of domestic violence victims, and a lot of them are not schooled or knowledgeable of what the process is, and my officers can't be expected to be witness victim advocates for them. That's not their job. And without having a victim witness advocate in the department, my job is to ensure that I can make the process as smooth and comfortable, for lack of a better term, for these victims as we move forward and resolve these cases. And where there are more serious offenses, not to diminish all other offenses, but where there are more serious offenses, I call on the YWCA or other programs that can provide support to these people, to these victims. And my officers, being in the field, can't make these decisions, and I don't expect them to. That's not their job, like I said. That's where I come in, and I try to educate the people that I see, the victims that I see, the witnesses that I see, as much as I can, because there's a lot of, well, this happens on Law and Order, or this happens in CSI. That's not how it works, unfortunately, in the real world. Sensationalized on TV. So I have to bring the expectations down and say, this is really how it goes. And this is really how we do things in the real world. And I try to make things, like I said, as comfortable as I can for them as we go through this process, because these people are people in crisis. They're not people who ask to come to us. They're people who have a need to come to us, and that need is that something went wrong. So how can we best serve them? And I think my approach, the approach that I employed, which I believe Chief Kelly subscribes to, Lieutenant Hebert, and my officer who is in the back, I think we all agree on that approach, and try to reach a consensus on how we resolve these cases. Let me see if there's anything else I would like to note for you. And just one final point before I give the floor back to you. Just because I'm in the department doesn't mean that I'm 100% biased in favor of my officers. My job is to act as a disinterested person, and I try to be objective in my approach and reviewing their cases and reviewing their work. We often have disagreements, and the officers don't like that. But in order to have a greater number of quality of cases, it's a check. It's my job to be a check on them, and to be an objective and disinterested filter for them. So, with that,
Could you touch upon your caseload?
yes. Sorry. So last year, this is 2015. In 2015, we had 180 new criminal arrests, and we had 171 new motor vehicle summons that went before me in court. That totals about 351 cases altogether. These cases do not include cases that came over from 2014. They don't include cases where There's extensive follow-up required because there are cases from even years past where that are open that we still need to have review hearings on and ensure that the defendants are in compliance with what they're doing. Also, these do not include what we have now agreed with the schools to do, truancy cases. So overall, when you take into consideration the new load that we had, the new cases that we had, with the old case that we had, and any other issues that may pop up in emergency hearings, we're talking close to 400, if not over 400 cases where we actually appear in front of court. All those cases are, they have to come to resolution, so they are resolved, or some may still be ongoing, but that's what we have. That's what we had last year. And we had that caseload, I might add, with a diminished force, and the officers, the men and the women, have done a fantastic job for the community, and I'm proud to be their prosecutor. I hope they're proud of me, and I think the town should be proud of the work that they've done.
Any questions before we open to public questions? So, I'm happy, for the grace of God, that I've never had the experience of dealing with you.
I am too, by the way.
I don't want to. But I was wondering if you could just walk us through, like, a typical week. You come into the department, how often you go to court, who do you meet with, what is it?
Well, Mondays the phone rings off the hook, just like it did today. So, really, when we're talking about a court week, I'll take you through a week where we have court, because really when I have office time, I'm in the office, I get to work every day between 9 and 10 o'clock, and I leave anywhere between 5 and 6 o'clock. Some days I stay later, some days, if the work is done, or if I have a personal issue that I need to attend to, I go and I do that. So when we're coming up in court, like we have a court date next week. So what I will do is that Monday, and I should say that our court schedule is now completely varied. We used to have a set schedule of 2 Tuesdays or 3 Tuesdays every month, and that was it. We knew when we were going to court. Now, the Judge Lawrence of the Goffstown Court is retiring. He's going on mandatory retirement as required by statute. So the schedule is all up in flux. Excuse me, it used to be Thursdays. Now we were on Tuesdays, but because of the mandatory retirement, we're going whenever the court tells us to go. So, and the dates are provided by the judge. So, 1 month it might be Tuesday and Thursday, but this month we have Thursday and a Wednesday, and so we have to constantly adjust and adapt to what we're doing and how we're scheduling cases. So, with that said, when we have a court date, such as next week, when we have Thursday, I'll come in. I usually try to prepare the cases a week to 10 to 14 days in advance. So what I'll do is, I'll take a look at the schedule. The court will send me a docket of the cases that are on for a particular day. I will review the cases, and I will pull them from the file, and I will review them, and I will, they have attorneys. I will contact their attorneys and try to negotiate cases, see if there's a middle ground that we can reach. If they're pro se, meaning they're representing themselves, I will do the same thing. I'll try and contact the defendants and see if there's a middle ground that we can reach. Oftentimes, and particularly with pro se defendants, I won't be able to get in touch with them. The phone number may not be bad, or maybe they moved and we just don't have the address and what have you. So a lot will go into the morning of court trying to resolve the cases and discuss everything with them. And same thing might happen with attorneys as well, particularly the busier solo practitioners that I deal with. So once I do that, once I review the cases and make my phone calls, I'll get into the nitty-gritty of the cases, and I will look to see, what the facts were, make sure that the charges are all set, make sure that we do not have a defective complaint, and just, go through the case with a fine-tooth comb. If there's any follow-up that I need, I will go to my sergeant or my lieutenant, and I will say I need this done, and I need it done right now, if it hasn't already been done previously. Other than that, I contact witnesses if there are any, and I will set up witness preparation sessions, and I will just walk them through the process. What happens when you first go into court, meeting the bailiff, from when you come in, you meet with me, from when we go in front of the judge, and what happens on cross-examination and so forth. So the days go by quickly when you're getting ready for court. And it's not just 1 or 2 cases. You can have anywhere between 10, 15. Sometimes, I think one day in December we had 20 cases on the docket. So there are a lot of cases. There's a lot of work to be done and a lot of review to be done before we get there, and it takes up the time. And I will also review, dispositions or proposed dispositions in the case of my officers, as well as the lieutenant. And we come to a consensus on how we want to approach resolving the case. So that's just a nitty-gritty nuts and bolts of it, but it can be far more extensive than that. But really, the lead up into court is kind of a controlled chaos of paperwork and phone calls that needs to be made and that needs to be followed.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, so the floor is open at this point if anybody has any questions. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Alex, do you have a percentage as to how often you're negotiating plea versus going to court?
I do, and I cited it in my statement. Out of the cases that we have, the average is about 5% of cases will actually go to trial or full hearing. That's just a natural habit of district court and criminal work court in particular, because you have so many cases in the district court. If you go to trial on every case, or if you have a hearing on every case, you're not going to get out of there until 3 days after you're actually scheduled. So, I mean, it's a it doesn't seem like a large percentage, but that trends with national averages. I tried looking up what percentages or averages might be in New Hampshire. I wasn't able to find any, so I just had to go with national averages. And the caseload that we have here, where we negotiate, is consistent with that. And quite honestly, I should have probably put more, but I put a conservative number of 5%. It's it's actually more. It could be anywhere. It could be lower, such as 3%, or it could be up as 7 or 10%. I think it all depends on your jurisdiction and where you are, and the number of cases that you have before you. And quite honestly, it all depends on the facts of the case. If you have an open and shut case, negotiation can be a lot easier. If there's a lot of gray area, well, guess what? You're going to go to trial, or you're going to have a hearing on it. Each case is different. Each case is unique, and so when you weigh everything out and you average everything out, it comes to about that number. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure anyone's feelings on that, but I know so far that the approach has been successful.
Anything else? Any questions? Okay. I'm gonna make a last call for anybody in the public who would like to ask any questions and I don't see any, so I'll close the public hearing. Looks like about 7:45.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your motion?
If you'd like to make one.
Okay, I move that we approve the contract for town prosecutor with Alex G. Gatsoulis Esquire for the sum of $68,029.24, which is the same amount of the 2015 contract.
Is there a second?
This should have a 2016 contract. in that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
While Alex is here, you wanna sign it, and then you
Sure.
guys can later. Here you go, Alex. I'll have them sign it, get your copy.
Thank you, Tom.
Send it.
Next up,
Thank you.
Maplewald Road driveway access discussion. And I'd like to recognize Mike Walton.
Is Sean, are you all set with Sean?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, I'm Yvonne Walton, and this is my husband, Mike Walton. And before you begin, I was just going to mention, it's come to my attention that one of the application forms that we had filled out, we had originally been directed how to fill them out, dotting the i's and crossing the t's. And I noticed that one of the forms did not have a saying that said put attachment. So I have brought adjunct supplements.
Right, is that for zoning, though?
Yes.
Do you wanna leave it with me for Chip?
I'd be happy to if it's all right
Yeah.
with the board.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, and you have the floor.
Do we have it here?
Yeah, I emailed over you everything that I get from Chip and everything else. There is also, I believe, Mr. Howard is here, which represents Mr. Parker as an abutter that will want to speak, I'm sure, after. So, okay. Just, so I forwarded you early on and before the weekend, like there was minutes and there was road improvements and things like that that you guys all should have.
Yep.
Okay.
Rick, did you hear this as a member of the planning board?
I did, but I was not at the last meeting. You guys go to the last meeting, last Thursday? You don't remember it, did you?
It was 2 weeks ago, I was, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm the one who presented,
Okay,
to the planning board.
yes,
Were you there?
I believe I was. We did discuss it, member Bruce Fillmore
Yeah, there's an email.
made the motion for it to come to, the board of selectmen, and it was passed unanimously, the recommendation. With, he made a list of,
Conditions?
conditions,
Mm-hmm.
correct.
Which you guys got in an email?
Yes.
Okay. So there's also, there's an agreement, is my understanding that there's an agreement that is going to take place, needs to take place amongst all of you that are gonna use the road?
My husband and I have signed, and it's been notarized. Danielle Erickson, the owner of the right-of-way, has signed. I don't know about.
And I think Mr.
Gordon
Parker,
Parks.
right, and I think he wants to talk about that, is that what you want to do? Okay.
Sure.
They want,
Okay.
Mr. Attorney Howard wants to talk about the agreement
Okay.
that you guys, I believe, saw in that whole package earlier. Okay,
The whereases and the therefores?
Yeah.
Okay.
there you go.
All right, should we
Yes,
give him the
yeah,
floor?
yeah,
Thank you.
Mr. Park, my name is Rob Howard. I have a law office in Henniker. And Mr. Parker came up to talk to me last week, and I get a chance to look this stuff over. Town council has prepared a very careful explanation of how the building permit variance situation takes place when you have no frontage. And it requires a road agreement signed by all of the parties affected by the road. That includes Mr. Parker, who is at the far end of the road from Maplewald Road. He has a, maybe to dignify it too much, he has a camp up there, which is his hideaway where he gets away from the world. And all he needs is the ability to drive up there once in a while to enjoy the place. The situation is that there has been some friction over the use of it, and I thought this might be a good chance to get those things cleared up. I took a look at the proposed whereas, our document, and added a couple of paragraphs that I sent to Attorney Drescher, who was the town council, who vetted it and said that it would fly, at least as far as the needs of the town were concerned. However, I also am sure that they haven't had a chance to look at the applicants haven't had a chance to look it over and really talk about it. But I would like to say a couple of words on the background. The property was subdivided some years ago, and there was a point when the then owner, whose name was Ruthie Coleman, I think, and my client entered into a road agreement for that access, which was recorded. And then when, it surprised me that when Ruthie sold the property to the applicant's predecessors, it wasn't mentioned. But the document was recorded, and it gives a basic framework for how the maintenance and use of that road would be governed, which seemed to have been pretty much ignored in the package that was presented to you. So I've brought a few copies, and I'll certainly give one to the applicants to look over with their counsel if they choose to have one. The way I would anticipate this to happen would be once we've caught up with each other on some of the background and on some of Mr. Parker's desires for this to cover, to work out. We should easily be able to arrive at a common ground, which could be worked into the format which Attorney Drescher has provided. And it should not take a very long time, and it would be ready for submission to the planning board or to the selectmen or the zoning board of adjustment or whoever hears the variance issue well in advance, and presumably with Attorney Drescher's approval of at least the legal content. Now, as far as the practical content and as far as the board's decision as to whether a variance is appropriate, that's really not Mr. Parker's interest, but I do feel that we can use this as an opportunity to settle ahead of time some of the issues that may arise as those lots are developed over a period of time, and this is the time to do it. Thank you.
Okay. And that's the paragraph that was inserted as paragraph A.
Yeah, did you
or
guys-
8B or
Okay.
I haven't seen it.
No, and I'm only offering that as something.
As well as the other one.
Okay.
This isn't something we're insisting on, it's simply
Mhm.
something that we're offering to show some of our concerns.
Mhm.
And I don't know that I have copies for, if the board would like, I can submit a copy of the agreement that was made in January of 1998 and recorded at the Registry of Deeds before Ruthie sold the rest of the property between Ruthie and Parker, which I think is effective as we speak. And if we're going to alter it, it should be altered with everybody understanding what the background is.
Has this concern also been brought up to the zoning board as well? Or?
No.
I've only
there's-
been involved in this since really the beginning.
They're scheduled to go to the zoning board February 9th.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have a couple of weeks to
Okay.
get that worked out.
Could you at least give a copy, or can you just explain in real simple layman terms what it is that?
The issues that we're going to be addressing on this, there are several. One is the original road agreement allowed for over as well as underground utility lines to run up, and I understand that has been an issue. There was also an issue at one point where there was a proposed gate across the road, which is also addressed in this ancient document. Those are things which I think should be brought to this process so that it doesn't come up again. There's also issues as to the development. To what extent would the guy who goes to his camp in the back every so often be requested to contribute to perhaps major improvements to the construction of accesses to the buildings that are coming up below him? And I think if we address that now, there will be a lot less friction in the future.
Do they have those?
They just said they did not have.
I'd be surprised if they did.
Yeah, 'cause I
only
get
sent
it-
to Attorney
I get
Drescher
it
last
this-
Friday.
I was say I got it this morning, a new copy from Chip.
We got it this afternoon.
Right, because I forwarded it to you from. I mean, they're welcome to have my copy.
There's language in this that seems to address some of the issues that you're
Right.
talking about.
That is correct. again, there hasn't been any agreement because they don't even know about it yet.
Right, they signed an old agreement that
Right.
now you've raised the question.
That will not
They're
be,
not aware of.
that won't be sufficient. And may I give them a couple of copies of
Yes,
the old
yeah.
agreement, which is currently in effect?
Are you aware that there are utilities now overrun the dams?
To the camp?
No, to their property.
The abutting lot.
No, I was talking about the camp.
And are you aware that that agreement only pertains to 2 of the 3 lots?
I give it to you and you can
Okay.
enjoy it for your own late night reading. So the process which I am suggesting to the applicants is that they or their counsel get in touch with me with a amendment to the agreement that was before the board that addresses some of the issues, the concerns that we've mentioned tonight, now that they know what they are.
So is the bottom line, your client's interest is to have the ability to run overhead lines to the camp?
That and a fair division of the cost of maintenance of the agreement and improvement of the access as it goes along, which recognizes the different level of use of the accesses by the original agreement doesn't even mention any of that. It just says anybody can fix it up if they want to and nobody can block it. Well, that's good, but I don't think it's going to be sufficient for the town variance process. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
So where does that leave us for tonight?
well, without Mr. Parker's signature, there's really nothing to
Right.
rule on. Because they can't enter into that agreement all by themselves.
So at this point, the only.
It sounds like that-
Has to go back to
It
zoning.
It sounds like the 3 of them signed a different agreement than what I just handed them,
But yeah,
correct? And the agreement isn't any good until everybody signs.
well, I don't got it.
May I ask a question?
Right up.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Howard, you say that your concern is about fair and equitable treatment of the maintenance and sharing of the costs. What it sounds like to me is you're saying, since Mr. Parks only camps there and we're going to build there, we'll be using it the most. But what if he decides in 5 years or 10 years to build a house or use it as a retirement property or sell it so that there's his retirement program?
The agreement would have to address that, of course.
Oh, okay.
That's the whole point.
In the form of a lien or something, or I don't know how that would happen
This
down the
is-
line.
We can have this discussion without having the selectmen participate in it.
Okay, all
But-
right, you agree?
But is it not, they can't really get their building permit until something happens here?
I don't believe they can get their building permit until Mr. Parker signs a road agreement.
Right, what's what I mean?
And since I only just started on this at the end of last week, I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to get in touch with everybody and get it worked out. The best I could do would be, because I knew Attorney Drescher, was to send him what I was thinking to see if I was in the right direction. And he didn't seem to have a problem with it.
Because we just got that, what I handed you this morning.
Sure, I understand it. I'd like to make one more point that Mr. Howard mentioned is about having a gate access. Keep in mind that the property, and it's perfectly well understood, that Ms. Erickson has a working farm. She's got livestock there. And it's understandable to have a gate with a lock and everyone has a key, and I certainly would have no objection to that. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me that you can't have sheep running up and down and getting loose. And it makes sense to have a livestock gate, even if it was big enough, if it was necessary, as long as each abutter would have access to that and the ability to open and close it. I mean, it's common practice in much of the country. So I just wanted to address that issue right there.
I guess what I'm looking
I
at
have a
is maybe,
question on
yeah,
timing. I mean, I think they were interested in getting started on construction, so.
right, and but I think,
Right now, so.
right, well, I'm just saying that if, I don't know if you guys wanna go chat somewhere or whatever you guys wanna do, is we still have, cause that document is gonna be vital at the zoning board level. The maintenance or the road agreement is going to be an integral part of their application.
And it makes sense to agree on whatever it is before,
Right.
so that
Right.
you're not fighting neighbors later.
Right.
I mean, it just makes
Sure.
perfect sense.
Yeah, so, I mean, we have 2 more Monday nights before you get to the 9th that I'm willing to do if you guys wanna meet and see what you can do if you want to do it that way, so that we could try to assist you to get you what you need agreeably upon everybody to February 9th. We have the 1st and the 8th still, at our level.
Okay,
Do do we have to act as a board before it goes to the ZBA? I mean,
I think you guys have to review and comment, and as, remember Wordley, there's a path, they gotta go back to zoning board once they've come here.
Right, but do they have time to come here again before
They
having to
have
go?
2 more
to the-
Monday nights before they go to zoning.
And how quick do they have to get, we have to get an answer before they can get on the agenda for zoning? Is
No,
there-
they're on the agenda, if I'm not mistaken, for
We are on
zoning.
for February 9th.
They're on for February 9th.
But is there a time constraint for us to get any workable papers to you so that they're still eligible or applicable?
We got them this afternoon, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And Mr. Parker wants me to make it clear that he had pneumonia for most of the week and didn't get up to me till the end of the weekend. He apologizes for the surprise.
Well, you know what, I would like to just, I have phone numbers for Mr. Parker and stuff, but, I'd like to do whatever we could do to get them,
I would too, I would hate
So-
to, I don't want to see them miss the opportunity.
right, and that's what I'm saying, they're already got a scheduled date. The 1st, I'd be welcome to take them back either Monday night. You know, if you guys wanna just
Does that
have a
work?
conversation, maybe?
That's nice of you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
appreciate that. So can we be back here for the 1st then?
I'm happy with that.
That's Monday?
You guys wanna go out and talk?
I'm around all week, I'll talk to
Okay,
him tonight.
sure.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
we can-
Appreciate your intercession. Thank you.
We'll put you on for the 1st, but if you're not, if you just call me, we can announce at the beginning that they're not here. Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. Say that again? I just don't know where I could, what I'm gonna do.
anything happening upstairs?
Mr. Howard, if you wanna go upstairs, there's a conference room upstairs if you guys wanna sit down.
I'll see if they want to do that.
Mr. Howard, what's your first name again?
Rob,
I'm sorry, Robert.
Okay, thanks.
if you guys wanna go up and just have a conversation and sit down, there's a table in the conference room upstairs.
One more question.
Second,
Mr. Howard, what was the name of the last name of the woman who sold the land?
Coleman, Ruthie, R-U-T-H-Y, Coleman. I don't know whether it was a man or a woman.
Coleman. Ruthie.
It's,
second door on the left upstairs if you want a room to
thank you.
be in.
At least we should have a
Yeah.
few words, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Place to sit down.
There's a table up there.
Oh, well. All right,
Okay, finalize and sign the 2016 town warrant.
doesn't have to shut the door.
That's fine, no one's gonna
Open it.
No.
I have copies
With
here.
that door open, it can get
I'll
real
send you
warm.
one. I have copies here of the town warrant that needs to be signed tonight, but before, anybody want a copy, they can have one. But before I, ask anybody to sign, there's a couple of things I'd like to talk about. And the first one is at the 11th hour, Department of
People
Revenue.
just need to know they can come in at any
Yeah,
time.
just keep it
Yeah.
cracked.
If it's closed, they're gonna think we're in a non-public.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or
So,
maybe they want the private thing.
But they can use the room
Yeah.
upstairs.
They could go upstairs.
the, I just want
We
to,
gotta keep that open.
Yes, please.
the, I have put warrant article numbers to the copy that you have in front of you. Ours is gonna start with 10. Yes, I put one in front of you. Doesn't have draft through the middle.
Got it.
Ours is gonna start with 10. And I'll first, I'll do the easy one first. I'm gonna have you turn to 15. 15 is the EMS. We get a notification this afternoon that the Department of Revenue wants the article split. Meaning that the EMS is on the first one is to raise and appropriate 67.5. It says the same thing, other than there was an sentence added that this article is contingent upon passage of Article 16, so that they both have to pass. I guess we're the first ones that's ever going to discontinue a revolving fund, so it took some extra time to find some answers. the first answer we got was okay being together. Today's answer was no, it can't be. So I had to separate the two so that this sentence that was part of the article above now has to stand by itself, but they both are contingent upon passage of each other.
So the way we see it now is the way that it'll appear.
Yes.
That's so confusing.
So Article 15, shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $67,500 to be added to the fire department's operating budget to allow for purpose of funding per diem EMT firefighters. This represents wages for 9 months. If approved, this addition will become part of annual operating budget. This article is contingent on the passage of Article 16. Oh, okay.
So, and then the last sentence that was up above is on its own with the same sentence that it's contingent on the passage of 15.
So what we're saying is both have to be yes in order for either of them to be yes.
Correct.
So
Okay.
if one of them fails, they both fail.
Right.
So the chance is 0.
So I just wanted to alert you to that. There's not one article. Those were broken down into 2. So just that's changed. And then the last change I have is on Article 11, which has to do with the budget. Last,
Can we start with Article 17, because that's contingent on 15? So you have to put an estimated tax impact on 17. It has to, because if 16 and 15 fail, so does 17, because the money will not be there for that article.
No, we're gonna raise it by taxation.
taxation.
Then, but the tax impact is 0.
Right, the tax impact should not be 0.
Correct. But it says if Article 15 passes, it's gonna be 83,000.
So it should, underneath that.
But it should say
have a-
raise from taxation. Somewhere in here, if 15 fails,
It's my understanding that has to be in your mailer. That was how I understood
We
it.
have to elaborate on it, obviously, in the
Yeah.
mailer, but
Yeah, but.
but if 15 fails, the tax impact is not going to be 0.
that's correct. So we should figure the tax impact and put it on here. no
That,
matter what.
yeah, either way, estimated tax impact if 15 fails, X amount. If it passes, Y amount.
I agree. There needs to be something in the.
I think
Because
just a
it's not-
simple sentence that says, at the end of what we have here, if Article 15 and/or 16 fails, then the tax impact of this article will be whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it has to be. I mean, there's 2 articles contingent on 15.
I think it sounded pretty good the way Tom just said it.
If Article 15 and/or 16 fails, the tax impact of this article will be whatever number of cents,
Estimated.
estimated tax impact. I think you need that too, really.
I think
If 15 and 16
clarifies.
pass, the estimated tax impact is 0. And then it's clear all the way around.
Okay.
So we're kind of edging back to where we started with the article, but
Yeah, kind of.
10 cents.
It's clear as mud.
Estimated impacts would be 10 cents.
Clear as mud.
All right, so I'll have to run upstairs and make that, but,
did you get the second part? If the Articles 15 and 16 pass, the estimated tax impact will be 0. I think we need that, otherwise that estimated tax impact 0 is just kind of hanging there without meaning.
Yeah, without
Okay.
clarity.
And it wouldn't say and or, it would say and for the 15 and 16.
yeah, they both have to, so it has to say and. And.
Let's move back to 11 now.
All right, now we'll move back to 11. Thank you, Ricky. On Monday evening, no, Wednesday evening last week,
Was it a
Beth-
continuation of Monday?
Beth and I attended the Finance Committee meeting in where the recommendations were made for the articles. And they came and the recommendation at the beginning was to not recommend the budget. So I asked if I could have a further conversation, which I did. And I asked them kind of what would it take to come to some sort of an agreement. And some numbers were thrown around, and I'll state the numbers. The last week's warrant had a tax increase of $190,000. But $30,000 of it, because DRA makes us raise and appropriate in the budget, $30,000 of it is $23,000 for sewer and $7,800 for ambulance billing. Ambulance billing comes from the ambulance billing that comes in. The sewer comes from the people that use the sewer. So there's nothing I can do about the $30,000. So if we took that out of the equation, we're at about $180,000. So I said if I was able to meet you $160,000, I'm sorry. So if I was able to meet maybe halfway, would that be acceptable to the board? Meeting halfway would mean that I would have to take $80,000 out of our operating budget somewhere, which at that point would bring the tax impact from 3.5% to 2%. And they said that if that's something the board would consider, they would consider recommending to approve our proposed budget if I take $80,000 out. So, with that being said, I have done that, and that's what's in front of you, but you need to know where I took the $80,000 from. And I've had conversations with 2 department heads as to where this was what I recommend is our legal line. Our legal line we put in at 85. For the last 2 years, we've always put in at 62 or 61.9. So I recommended taking it back to 62, deducting $23,000. Part-time police, talked to Sean. It was at 72. I asked if I could take 30 to bring the proposed down to 42, which still covers the one part-time employee that we may or may not get back. Roadside mowing.
We took how much off from there? 30?
I took 30 off of the part-time line, police part-time. I took 23,000 off the legal. And then the rest of the 27 is going to come from 3 different places in the Public Works Department. Roadside mowing is new this year, so I reduced it from 10 to 5. The hot cold patch is a new item this year in the proposed, so I removed it from 45 to 25, giving me 2 more. So that makes the 7. And then I took a look at salt sand. Salt sand over the last 3 years, we've spent an average of $147,000. So I backed it up because I think we had 2011 was a fairly heavy year, which is the most we've ever spent on salt, was about $189, which is where you get the $190 originally. So I took the 5-year average at that, and it was $154. So at that, I felt taking it back to $160 would be comfortable. That's where I gained the 20. So with those 5 deductions equals $80,000. That's where those numbers that you have in front of you represent exactly what I have taken off.
So the total highway deduction was?
$27,000. The total from legal was 23. That makes 50.
Do we have what expenditure on that legal line was this year?
The legal, and just to clarify, the legal that you just signed was a 15 legal, because I had purchase ordered it out of 15. So it's not part of spending 8, taking away 20, you know what I'm saying? Let's see if I have.
It's not
I think it spent twice as much.
Yeah, I was.
So it's about twice as much,
So
but
that's
let
why
me,
I have a concern about letting you spend the 23,000.
but you did that 2 years in a row. You always had 61.9 and it's your default number. And you spent this year legal. At 61.9, you spent 178,385.
But this year we won't.
No, that's exactly what I'm being very positive with the movements that we're making.
It's a New Year's resolution.
Yeah, so we have right now, pending.
Correct. Other than, I don't want to throw this out there, but it's through Primex, yes.
So, yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
and each time Primex on another case, it's another $10,000.
Or up to.
No, each
First 10,000,
case is 10,000
it's $10,000 deductible.
deductible.
Right.
I guess you're right, up
Yeah.
to.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I've never seen one not
I guess,
up to.
I guess I was looking positively that we're gonna move forward in the right direction. I hear what you're saying, but,
Even if we move forward in the right direction, you get down to 100.
well, my,
Okay,
my
Jim,
point,
can
my
you go
point
first?
is $80,000 and get a recommendation or nothing and get a,
But I'm looking
we're
at
not
the trend
recommending.
too, Jim, and you think about the last couple of employees that left employ with the town. And they've left cleanly so far without any trouble. And historically, that's where we've run into trouble.
Right.
Right?
How definitive was your answer from the finance committee?
I think they put it in their minutes that they would
So-
recommend a 2%.
Oh, they would recommend, not will consider, but would
Mm-mm.
recommend. Okay.
They'd recommend a 2%,
That's-
which is where,
The decision that we need to make is whether or not we wanna adjust our budget so that we get the recommendation of the finance committee, or whether we stick to the budget that we've reviewed and voted on and let the chips fall where they may.
I mean, I just felt that, you know, you heard it last week that we should work with them, and I felt I would reach out the branch, and I went to them and tried to see what would be a recommendation. I didn't feel that, you know, I gave you places that I could take 80,000. There's a lot of pluses in the proposed budget, is how I look at it.
Have we ever had a budget pass with their recommendation?
Without their recommendation?
With their recommendation?
sure.
Yeah,
Okay, how about without?
I don't think so.
no, I don't think so. Typically, the vote's been the recommendation of the finance committee. I guess that's why I reached out and felt it was important. I gave you my reasoning as to where I thought we could come from and where I feel pretty good about it. I'm really looking for them to endorse us instead of the opposite, you know? I really think it was important. There's a lot of things in the operating budget that we need to move forward with. I just felt that you know,
Reaching out to them and asking them their thoughts and what it is that they were hoping to see, I have no issue with you doing that.
no, I'm
It's still
just
this board's
hoping,
decision
it's
as
still
to
this
whether or
board's
not we
decision,
wanna
and
do it.
I'm just hoping that, you know, I guess I felt that that was kind of a compromise, and we met in the middle. And the number that you're looking at in front of you reflects the $80,000 taken from budgets. Because if you remember, the last time you looked at it was 5599062. Pretty sad I can remember all those numbers. Numbers are my thing, though.
To me, it makes sense because without, and as Jim suggested, without the finance committee recommendation, our budgets are always dead in the water. You know, we need that recommendation. And there are some things in here that move us forward even without the money that Naomi's suggesting we take out. For example, the change in fire chief salary, which, you know, I believe if you compare him to other department heads, that's long overdue. That would be left in here and become part of future default budgets as well as this year's proposed if it passes. We have flexibility to, I believe, in the fuel line because of the continued drop in fuel prices, that the highway department will be in fine shape because of, you know, you can't predict, and the prediction that I would make is it's gonna turn around and go up. That's not what's happening. We're finished the first month. We're having a slow winter as far as overtime and fuel usage and sand and salt usage. So I think that department's gonna be in fine shape with, even with taking that money out. And, you know, the question mark obviously is the one that Jim's bringing up. It hinges on, my decision would hinge on the legal, the same as Jim's. But, you know, dug deep for the money in other places for the last 2 years.
And we're at our last hour, so I don't have Beth here to run me new budgets, I'll throw you that too.
I guess that's part of my concern, is yes, we reach out in the process, but here we are at the 11th hour, and we're in a process that I don't recall, and I can't say that I've gone forward and gone to their meetings, but nor have they brought these concerns up or percentage to us until now.
Actually, they have, I believe that you brought that to the board, did you do that?
Yeah, they wanted a 0.25% before, but I couldn't do that, that's $26,000. I mean, and 30 of it I can't, right.
That's unrealistic.
Right, which is why I went back and said, you know, this is, and I put it on paper, this is my numbers. You know, we're really talking 160 that I really have any wiggle room with. And I asked about splitting it, the difference, which consequently comes to 2%.
I really have no issue with the process. It's the way it works, the system we've got. It would have been nice, sure, if they had come to our meetings during our budget hearings
While we're
and
going
said,
line by line.
and said, we're not willing to support anything above X percent,
Right.
just to put it out there. They could have done that. Maybe they didn't know, maybe they didn't have a consensus on what that number was. I don't know, I didn't go to their meetings either. But they've done it now, and we don't have to accept it. We can do whatever is the pleasure of this board, but that's where we are right now.
I'll put it out as a motion, and then we
Sure.
can decide what to do with it. I move that we make the following reductions as recommended by the town administrator. $23,000 in the legal fees line, which is F on the warrant. $30,000 in the police department line, which is Q. And $27,000 in the highway line, which is town maintenance highway line, which is W.
I'll second that. And now the floor is open for discussion. Is there any?
I have to agree with you. We've got it before from scraping here and there. Again, I'm not happy about it, but I do feel that a lot of the taxpayers do take that recommendation from the finance committee with a lot of weight, unfortunately. Or fortunately,
I don't think it's unfortunate. It just is. I think they're tasked with one thing. We're tasked with a lot of other things.
It's true.
But they have one singular task, and that is to recommend, or not recommend warrant articles with one goal in mind, and that is to manage
The revenue.
the tax rate, or to somehow
Yep.
try to manage,
I agree.
keep the tax rate from going out of control. So that's the job they're doing, and
But I think there's a certain, maybe, anticipation or respect or something of the finance committee that they have looked over what we've done, and if it's acceptable to them, it should be acceptable. You know what I mean? I think there's that little bit of air out there.
Just question how they come up with that, how they can look at the $170,000 line item, the over expenditure of $90,000 out of that line item, and then request that we take $23,000 more out of that line item. How is that being prudent with the money?
I
Well,
absolutely agree with you.
right, and you're gonna,
It's
if you
just
have,
a negotiating
default's gonna give you
factor.
$62,000,
that's a good point.
you know?
I don't think they
I
recommend the
just-
lines, Jim, though.
No, they don't know where the lines are.
They recommended.
They recommended that I go back and take 80,000, and they would agree with it. There was some suggestions where it should come from, but they left it up to us to figure that out, which is what I just presented you. Beth and I spent Friday looking at numbers and trends and averages, and
So I don't disagree with them being, coming and asking us to lower that
Sure.
I mean, that's, I'm good with that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my process, the process is where
The process of how we got here? Yeah. Well, I'm not any happier than you.
last year's. Yeah.
It's still, even though we attempted to start early, we're down to the wire again in making the decisions.
But that's my concern.
Mhm.
Yeah, and mine too, and so, try to back it up again. It would be good to have a true joint meeting with the whole finance committee, but again, if we did that, we're gonna have to move along quicker ourselves, because they're dealing with 2 school budgets as well as our own.
And our budget is a moving target. It's,
It is, and it's just, what's deceiving is that we get to October and we freeze things.
Mhm.
And then it looks like we've got all this bundle of money that we didn't need, but in fact, normally it's there because there are things that we didn't purchase that department heads would have liked to have purchased. This year also, the fuel line obviously was one
The weather.
reason why we had the fuel line, the weather.
Mhm.
So
Not
we
being
had
fully
extra.
staffed.
right?
Mhm. I mean, there was a lot of things that consequently came up to $90,000 or more, probably, in which, I guess I just felt that, I felt it was important. We've extended an agreement, or maybe meet in the middle, that,
Proposal.
yeah. I felt it was for the good of coming to the agreement and trying to get a buy-in. I'd like to see a proposed budget pass.
Any other discussion? Okay, we'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Right.
Just James. James.
Very funny.
So with that being said, could I, instead of run upstairs and back downstairs to fix Article 17, I've got 3 copies of the budget, 3 copies of the default, and 3 warrants.
Are there any others that we should look at before we?
Oh.
Look through
Let's
the,
go through them.
I just added numbers, but those are the changes that I made from what you saw last time, other than the account, article
12
numbers.
is the CBA for the
Yep,
police.
yep.
and that's the same as last time, the wording. Oh, no, you changed the 7 to 10.
10%.
7 to 10%. I put question marks, because half of them had questions, half of them didn't, and it's a question they're asking.
Mhm.
Shall.
And to increase premium contributions from 7% to 10%, as do all other employees.
And I'll change 17.
13
There wasn't a change.
didn't change. 14.
15, 16, 17 will
15,
change.
16, 17 we talked about.
Yeah.
18, forestry vehicle.
I just want you to know too that if you looked at these, one of the prior revisions before DRA finished, it used to say it's anticipated that we would do this with the money. It's rolled into the question if you look at it.
For the purchase of a replacement forestry vehicle and to authorize a withdrawal of $60,000.
It's all in one question versus a question in a statement. When anticipated, you've been at several meetings that anticipated was a word that wasn't favorable to lots.
So it's
Town raising
anticipated, but on
Yeah.
the other hand, we're
Right.
gonna spend
Yeah, that's the question. Oh, does that mean you could spend it on something else?
Yeah, it's going into a
Which I
certain fund that
understand
has
that.
certain,
Question.
Yeah.
the.
Yeah. 19, 35,000 for the fire department equipment capital reserve for the purpose of purchasing jobs and life.
mhm.
20, 16,000, 116,000 for 3 additional full-time police. Right. This represents the wages and benefits for 6 months. Okay.
3-year lease for 5 cruisers.
21.
With the, if that passes, you're gonna take 17,000, which would put his, right now in the proposed, his,
Maintenance.
maintenance is at 30. If this passes, it goes back to 13.
Right. Article 22.
Road reconstruction.
$23,185,000 for highway truck and equipment replacement for the purpose of purchasing a new wheel loader for the highway department. Now, is saying new, tie our hands to new? Have we said in the past new or used?
Only when it was presented that way, and it was never presented that way.
Yeah, I don't think he,
He never presented it as used.
Yeah.
It was more about used when
Okay. 24, 29,600 transfer station equipment replacement for a new skid steer. 25, 27,500 to be added for Chase Park and maintenance capital reserve fund for renovating bathrooms to be ADA compliant, seal coat and stripe the parking lot, and develop a beach storm water management. 26, $80,000 for improvements, drainage, and expanding and improving the soccer field at Bolton. 27, $4,520 for adding support staff hours to the library. And it's hours annually.
mm-hmm.
28, 10,000 for cemetery construction for continuing repair stone walls. 29, 20,000 for cemetery improvements by authorizing withdrawal from Cypre account. 30, $7,000 to cover the cost of one local hazardous waste collection in 2016. 31, $6,000 for the fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
32 is to amend the lease with Weare Historical Society for the barns on East Road. $25,000 for Conservation Commission to contract services with a licensed forester. 34, $125,000 for Conservation Commission towards purchase of new land, and fund this appropriation by authorizing withdrawal from the town forest account. 35, $100,000 for the purpose of making safety improvements to the firing range. The range would be open to Weare residents upon completion of.
That was a change.
36 is the article to amend Article 48 from 2003 to request boards, committees, commissions to be public and transparent and meet on TV
Mhm.
or recorded for future broadcast. Anybody have any questions or see any other typos or? I'll entertain a motion then.
I don't know that you need one, you're just gonna sign the back of them.
Do we? So do you have to change?
Yeah, what I did is I printed a clean copies. There's 3 budgets with you all have to sign the front page, which reflects the numbers that I just gave you. There's 3 defaults, because one goes to the school, one goes here, and then Beth keeps one for the audit. 3 defaults, and I'm just gonna give you the back page of this original, so that I can make the change to 17.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you want to start. I'm just gonna leave them clipped if you guys can just sign the back sheet of the
I don't
warrants.
know if we can handle that.
No, there's just the front of the.
Just the front of those, right, but I've clipped them separately, thank you.
I want to go on record as not being against the reductions,
Okay,
but
the
being
process
against the process.
of how we got to the last minute,
That's
yeah,
fine.
and I understood that after you
Why
said
my
that.
vote.
No, I,
I figured that.
Oh,
Good to clarify, because then it's say Jim
Don't
doesn't like to
look at it
reduce the
and-
budget.
the other thing I was gonna ask is,
Sure.
and I know some other, I believe some other towns have, is it possible to put what the board voted?
We had talked about that a couple
Yeah.
years
Yeah, I
back.
thought we did.
And I think the
I don't-
decision was to present a unified.
yeah, and, yeah,
Just
it's.
the board recommends.
You made a recommend or not recommend as a group, whether it's, and, you know, and
You
there,
can look
I
at the
think that,
meeting minutes.
yeah, I think we've always, I mean, this is the same format we followed for,
I just know some other towns
yep.
had gone to that, and
In your minutes, when you actually discuss recommending or not recommending, the vote's there.
I, yeah.
You know what I'm saying, when you say it's, you know,
They actually
It's
have it
not
on the
right up
ballot?
front. Yeah, it's not right up in front.
Other
Yeah.
towns actually have it right on their ballot?
well, just take, can I just throw
I
out
don't think it would be
the,
on the ballot.
the fire, for instance, the improvements to the firing range? You know what I mean? We just reviewed those minutes and it says right in it, the vote there. But it, as a board, it went on.
Yeah, and that carries on, you know, I feel very strongly about this, and we've always lived by it, a deliberative session. No matter how much I'm against the firing range article, I'm not gonna stand up and speak about it
Right.
at
Well, I
deliberative
thought you were
session.
gonna speak for it.
I thought you were gonna speak against it.
I guess you're not gonna write
Right away.
Write the explanation and speak to it at the
Well,
deliberative.
Keith, you know, you had 3 years to change that sign ordinance as a member of the planning board.
Yeah, so it didn't come up really, so.
Well, it was your responsibility to clean it up.
Here's the three, just the last page for the town ballot. I'm gonna send you down Alex's contract, he signed the back. It was, I think it was great that he was here.
Absolutely.
I'm shocked there was no questions.
I think it answered them all.
And this one?
Yeah, there's three of each.
I hope Frank's not sick.
No, he called me tonight and said something came up and he couldn't be here tonight. So, but I already ran all the changes by him.
Our auxiliary board member?
Austin, did you want
We have more
something?
than one.
Did you
Call
need
him
something?
Sally.
Okay, no, you're welcome to
Just
stay.
hanging out.
Just a town resident looking on.
While you guys are signing, do you mind if I continue?
Go ahead.
Okay. I handed you the administrative report. Now that you've recommended it, I just want to make sure I'm gonna hop down to 5. I'm gonna go back and make sure they stand behind what that was told on Wednesday night. They said that they didn't take a vote of recommend, not recommend. They said they would recommend 2%. I want to make sure that that recommendation follows through on the, so I'm gonna go back to that meeting. The DPW director position, I believe I sent you guys an ad that I put together.
Yep.
And if that's okay, I'd like to move forward with that. And then I just reminded everybody of the presidential primary, what you had said you would do. Now, prime, I just wanted to go over this in just a second. So we talked about this one. Okay. So, part of prime, I've talked about it, we did our, there's this group of benchmarks that we need to agree to. We have done our training, and this benchmarks, risk management benchmarks, are something that we need in addition to, I guess it's something that we're going to shoot for, I guess I'll call it, in a benchmark. A couple of them are that we don't even have is a slip, trip and fall prevention policy. We don't have one. They've asked that be part of it, benchmark, and a target date is 3/1/16. They've supplied me with area towns that have them.
Have them what? A
slip, trip,
policy?
and fall prevention policies. Yes.
Don't do it?
They also, we do not have a temporary alternative duty policy, which is TAD. Again, I've been given,
Does Sean have one?
actually Primex has provided me with Keens and all the others. And so those two things have to be done. The fire and police members to attend training for, what's ADT? It's something to do with driving training. Stephen, it's done through Primex.
Something defensive tactics.
It's probably defensive tactics, yeah. They've suggested that by the December of this year that the fire and police members attend that. And,
And they provide these?
yep,
With-
for free, yep.
Well, as part of our.
Yep. And right, there's part of. And then there's one last is ethics training that everybody would attend, but that's available online through the website. So once they go through it, I would get a certificate back for ethics.
So they don't
The-
come here
the
and
tar-
do that like they did for?
No, the target date for that is 12/31/16. So if you are okay with these benchmarks, which I agree, I guess I feel comfortable with, you guys are gonna have to, we'll go through the two policies that they recommend, and I'll share with you. Just, they said don't get into a lot of detail, is to be brief. But there are some area ones, I just want to get through town meeting, and then, but if you are okay to these benchmarks, and then I will pursue pushing for the benchmarks, and we will get done. I'm going to commit to that, to you. Then we've accomplished prime and see where it gets us.
They don't give us an idea ahead of time what bang with the carrot, huh?
Yeah. And I'm willing to take that carrot, I guess. I mean, we have to. I think
it's
there's,
nothing
yeah.
that's gonna,
no.
it's all good stuff.
It's all good stuff, 'cause I think the defensive or the driving tactics is not a bad thing. Ethics training's not a bad thing.
Where is the signature of?
Alex signed underneath, way at the bottom.
Oh, all right.
He signed it. So if
No.
you're willing to adhere to the bench, or agree to let me adhere to the benchmarks, we'll move forward.
The ethics training involves all employees, all
Volunteers,
committee
yeah.
members, all volunteers.
Just like the harassment training did.
Okay.
But it is available via website. Would you prefer to have them come here?
Again, I'm not trying to single out, but does that include the finance committee?
I would think so. They all signed ethics forms.
So they should.
They did.
Yeah, but how long does that, how,
And
does
I'm
that
not,
happen?
I don't mean any, I'm not
Yeah.
meaning any,
No, and I
Anything bad
have
about
till
that.
12/31/16.
it's just that
That's the file.
sometimes-
Thank you.
because it's appointed by the moderator, it's kind of over here, separate from volunteers who come before this board, so.
Well, let me ask you, I mean, I'd be happy to ask the question and pursue them through the website if that's, because you got to go online and do the training, and then I would get notification that you've been through it. But I can even see if they want to do it here, if you feel you want to. I'm looking for you to buy into this benchmark thing.
Is that something you need us to sign tonight? Is that?
No, nobody needs to sign it. I need the minutes to say that you've approved it or adopted it.
I do too. I mean,
I agree.
yeah, they didn't tell us what the carrot is. There is one, but even if there wasn't one, I mean, they're all good.
I
things
need that
should
carrot
save
for the
us.
$23,000, right, Jim?
And they're all
Probably end up being spinach or broccoli instead of a carrot.
So I'm happy to push forward. It's just, I didn't realize you guys had to
Carrot
formally adopt these benchmarks.
I move
and
that we
that's
formally adopt the Primex benchmarks for
Risk
the
management.
prime risk management. Risk management benchmarks presented by Primex.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? I'd like to see about if they could come here to do
Okay.
the ethics one, and then we could just invite any committees so that they don't have to do it on their own. They could just come and
Yeah, I don't need them
Join
doing
us.
it during the day. Just kidding.
no, even like
Yeah.
volunteer
Yep.
boards or whoever that wants
Sure.
to just open invite. Okay,
Um,
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Transfer station fees, we said that we would take a look at those. My question to you on number 10 is, we said we would discuss the fees, the balance, and the need for public hearing. Do you want me to schedule a public hearing?
Can we see again? how
Okay, you
that's
want the
been
year
tracking?
end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'll get Beth to give us where we ended up for the year end, and then we can talk about it.
Because that'll be
That would be
a month?
it won't quite be 6 months, it'll be 5. When we had the hearing, I believe.
Still show it.
Yeah,
trend anyway.
that'll be
Right.
what we're trying to make a decision.
And then you'll have to, like I said, we'll discuss it. I have a question about President's Day. President's Day is Monday, the 15th. The office is closed. That means we don't meet, right? There's 5 Monday nights in February, so you really aren't missing anything.
And that doesn't hurt because they're going to the zoning on the.
Yeah, they're going on the 9th, yeah.
By the
So
ninth.
it's
So-
after that, okay.
Because we have to post a calendar, so yes. So we won't be meeting on the 15th, so when you have the meeting on the 8th, you'll have just 2 manifests or anticipated manifests. I said I'd be back for standard operating procedures for Tim after I made those changes. Well, now I'm back. It wasn't right away, but I'm back. So, this is the new one with your corrections from the last time that we talked. Oops. With a
That's
fresh
for-
signature
For
page.
snow removal.
The standard operating procedures for snow removal and ice control.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
On, no, line 8,
Yes.
I can be available to sign that at the end.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, just give me a jingle if nobody's there.
I'm not calling you, Mary. Maureen will.
That's fine.
I'll give you your phone number. Thank
That's
you.
fine.
Because she does need 3 of you to sign the
That's
box
fine.
or something.
Yep, I'll
Okay.
sign it.
So here's the signature page, and I'm just gonna clip it all together with everything else I've got for notes. But I believe you probably want to approve the winter operations, snow removal, and ice control policy on the back page. And sign it. Did you want to make a motion, Tom?
I'm sorry.
Did you want to make a motion first?
I make a motion, everybody follows suit and.
Uh-oh.
I make a motion that we approve the
Yeah.
standard operating procedures for snow and ice control.
Go ahead.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? That's exactly what we had talked about with a couple of
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Keith, last week when I had you sign just the one thing for Vashon, there was a,
Miss a spot?
no, it was my mistake. I only gave you the questionnaire to sign, but we also have to sign the engagement letter. Sorry, I mean, you made I think the motion said the engagement letter, but it was really a questionnaire. You signed the questionnaire, but we didn't sign these two for them.
We already made the motion.
You made the motion last week, but I only gave him one thing to sign. And you guys got the report that I forwarded you?
Mhm.
I forwarded you to the email. You read through that?
Quickly.
What was this one?
I sent you the email,
The concerning records that couldn't be found.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I would like to, at the end, can we go in and talk about collective bargaining?
In-
So it's a non-meeting at the end? I have something, I just wanted to
Yeah.
talk about
For,
the CBA agreement.
for police?
Police, yeah. And I think that's all. That's all and then next week, I think our meeting will be short because you gotta meet Saturday as well. So next week, I anticipate that you gotta have Saturday for delivery session. So
Saturday
Monday.
the
I
5th?
think I'm gone. that
6th.
weekend.
So you're gonna have Monday, we'll have the Waltons on there, you know, to come back, and then we also gotta decide your speaking assignments, so think about what you want, which article you wanna take. I didn't have a whole lot for next week, just because we're gonna be back on Saturday for,
I was gonna write the front page summary,
Mhm.
and I'll email it to everybody.
What did you say?
I'll write the front page of the
For the town report.
Oh,
summary
nice.
and send it to everybody to make comments, so we can look at that Monday too.
okay?
Good job.
So we are now up to public comment.
Austin?
Nothing?
Just observing.
Nothing? Okay.
Your
Correspondence?
life is boring if you sit here.
Any other business? I move to adjourn then.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we will talk about